old, but they've been relying on him a lot this season. He's really come on form. And with those three, in the attack, Dembele with that presence there as a center defensive mid, just his strength, able to boss players off the ball. I mean, we really need that. And it's going to be a tough ask for Winksy to come in and do that.
Yeah. What do you think, Cherries? Are there any players that you're really thinking could shine, or are there other players on Real Madrid's squad that you're awfully fearful of? I'm kind of upset that we're not going to see Bale, to be honest.
Well, if you've got a full-strength Real Madrid team against our full-strength team, it is definitely going to be a tough match. I think, as much as we want to play against their best and beat their best, I think in this particular match, while there are injuries on both teams, does it make it a level playing field? No, I think the advantage is still going to be with Madrid, as much as they've flattered to deceive in the league. But if you look at the performance of both clubs, it's the same. I think goal difference is the only thing that separates them. They're on the same points. It's a 5-2-1 record in the league. We flattered to deceive at home. We've been great on the road. They've just flattered to deceive in a lot of matches. But, you've got that wanker Ronaldo out there doing what he does. Anything is possible. It's just, he destroyed us when we played them last time in the Champions League. Was that, good Lord, 6 years ago now? Mm-hmm. And so any advantage we can have, I'll take it, because when we get to predictions, I think it's going to be critical for us to be able to do that. So I think Eriksen and Kane have to shine. Who's going to be the supporting characters for them is kind of up in the air, really.
They do have one point of weakness for this game with Danny Carvajal being out. Right back is going to be a point of weakness. They're trotting out the 18-year-old Hakimi. He's the one who's going to start in this place, and that's the area we really need to attack. But with Davies being out, that's
down to Son, right?
It's down to Son.
Yeah, it's down to Son.
That's his side.
And it'd be great. Davies has been so key for us moving forward. I mean, we can't praise him enough for what he's done this season, and I think that's the biggest letdown heading into this match, is the potential for him not being available, not recovering from this illness in time to play, because we would really need him on that left wing to push up the field and exploit them having a young 18-year-old out there. And I hope he can make it back, but I don't know. So that's the only point of weakness, how strong Real Madrid is. That's the only point of weakness I can really point out.
Yeah, Cherries, we talk a little bit about, too, the psychology of Wembley and these teams that come in and it's a day out for their fans. Does that mindset play in reverse for this match? I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know what the allotment is, the away allotment for the Bernabeu, but it's got to be close to maybe 10,000, 8,500, I don't know. It's going to be a huge day out for all these players. I'm thinking of the squad right now. How many players were there 6 years ago when we played them in the Champions League? Is there anybody that's really left?
None.
So this is
None.
How massive is this for all these teams that, Los Blancos and the history of Real Madrid? I got to think that it's going to be a little bit of a reverse psychology, playing into our benefit for the day out that it is. I look at this as going in, withstand the first 15, 20 minutes of pressure you're going to have to absorb, and then play your game, play your counter-attacking game. And they haven't been world beaters this year. They've lost some pretty dodgy matches against some teams that they had no business losing to, and I think we legitimately will have a shot. And we'll get into that, I guess, as we get closer to predictions. When we look a little bit further down the week, Liverpool coming into Wembley.
Well, hang on real quick. I had one more thing on Real Madrid. I don't want to overlook. I think the two key matchups in this game are going to be Isco versus Dyer. I think that's going to be a huge matchup to look out for. If Dyer can keep him under control, can shut down the outlet moving forward to Ronaldo and Benzema through Isco, because Real Madrid, they're a possession team. They like to play possession in the attacking half. They do the short passes. So I think if you can cut down that option, you're going to force it on Modric to try and thread it through distance, which, I mean, we know he can do, but I mean, that's an easier ass to defend against that rather than Isco right up there at the top of the box feeding one of those two in. So Dyer versus Isco is going to be a huge one to watch. But then the other one, the one I'm so scared about, Marcelo versus Aurier. Marcelo, I mean, he's probably the best left back in the world, in my opinion. He's so fast, and Aurier is going to need to be disciplined. He can't get caught out up pitch like he was doing against West Ham, just jumping in early on these balls when, Eriksen's up there also and can take the player. Aurier would rush forward. He can't do that when you have Marcelo there that he's going to be going up against.
I have a feeling if we do play a traditional 4-2-3-1, that Winksy will, if it's Winks, will play a little bit more forward, and Dyer will probably play a little bit deeper. It's almost going to be 5 at the back in those situations. As they start to attack a little bit, I got a feeling that Dyer may drop really deep, almost play, if it's himself, Sanchez, he could put Vertonghen, I guess, out at left back and play Sanchez and Alderweireld in the middle with Trippier out on the right, or Aurier rather out on the right, and then obviously have Dyer drop back and help out in the middle there. His height will obviously come into play there, but you're right, Marcelo is so dangerous. And that left side, if you think about it, with him bombing up the right, he's a right back, right? No, left back.
Marcelo's left back, Aurier on the right, so they'll be matched up against each other.
Right. So if you think about how Poch is going to line that up, if he plays Sissoko out on the right, if it's not Sonny, I would hope it's Sonny just for the speed aspect alone. To be able to keep up with him and at least try to disrupt him a little bit. You're right. Marcelo is going to be an absolute key to this game, I think, for Real Madrid. And this game we talk about games being won or lost in the midfield. I think it's going to be won in both final thirds. How they defend against the attacking prowess of the other team. The Modric, Eriksen, I wish we had time to go through all 11 players and say, who would you rather have? Taking your lily white glasses off. The Modric, Eriksen comparisons are very intriguing, and I for one would raise my hand and say I'd take Eriksen in a heartbeat. From a striking position, no doubt Kane, I think he's the best striker in Europe as it stands right now based on form, and when you look at the wings, that's where they may have the advantage as they peel in, especially without Dele. Is it going to be Sonny? Is it going to be Sissoko? If you're unsure about that position, you got to give the advantage to the team that's going to throw out Ronaldo and throw up Isco and the other players that feed the ball into the middle and try to make goals. Hugo is going to have to be on top of it, man.
So for any of our listeners who were not Spurs fans before recent years and do not have any history of that match from April 2011, I'm going to give you a little backstory. So our team was Gomez in goal, Bale, Gallas, Dawson, Chorluka, Asuakato. We had Jermaine Genius, Van der Vaart, who was subbed at halftime for Devoe, Modric, Sandro, and Crouch. Everyone knows Crouch was sent off for 2 yellows by the 14th.
Yep.
Yeah, we were already 1-0 down to some geezer called Adebayor, who scored again in the 57th. Di Maria and Ronaldo finished it late in the game to kind of flatter Madrid. Di Maria in the 72nd, Ronaldo in the 87th. Here's the interesting thing, though. Looking at the Madrid team, there are 3 players still in that team. And correct me if I'm inaccurate here, Tim. Casillas, Carvalho, Pepe, Sergio Ramos, Marcelo, Ronaldo. So those last 3 are still in the squad, right? Alonso, Di Maria, some guy whose eyes are offside, Sami Khedira and Adebayor. So they also, off their bench, had Higuain, Kaká, Diarra, Arbeloa. I mean, that just shows you. That's why they're called the Galacticos, right? But that was a summary. And our possession that game, 33%.
and you would almost expect nothing less.
Attempts on target, 2. Yeah,
wow.
we were outplayed. But, and I remember watching the game live, and I just like, Crouchy, what are you doing, mate? It was very ill-disciplined, and we were never in it. And the return leg, we lost 1-0. I think Ronaldo scored in that one, even though I think, if memory serves me well, Gomez saved a penalty. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's the last time we played them in a competitive match.
And there's still a lot of football to play in this group stage. There's 4 matches, 2 against Real Madrid, another one against Dortmund. I mean, there's a lot to play for yet. all eyes will be on that result, because I think it'll be a huge barometer as to where this club is really at as far as this competition is concerned. Now, let's move on to Liverpool. The Mane injury, I think, really hurts them. Salah can only do so much. I still think that they struggle up front at times from the striking position. Sturridge is in and out of the lineup. I think it's a little more disruptive than it is consistent with him. Firmino is still a very attacking-minded and very talented striker, as is Coutinho from the midfield perspective. He had a couple of runs yesterday that were blinding. However, their defending is woeful. We've talked about that a little bit before, and they can be caught on the counterattack. That being said, Simon, they seem to be the team that is our bugaboo team here these last 2 or 3 years when we've been playing some of our best football. That is the nut we cannot crack for whatever reason. Do you foresee anything within their structure right now? Are they really that vulnerable? Is it just paper covering the cracks right now for them? Can they be had, or are we looking in for another dogfight?
Yeah, interesting, because if we were playing them at Anfield, I'd have said easy 3 points, even though that's probably a worse venue for us to play than at home. But our home this season is not White Hart Lane. So, last season, it was unfortunate when, it was early in the season, if I'm not mistaken, right? 1-1, Danny Rose scored for us. It's going to be a tough game because it's Wembley. It really depends on the frame of the players' minds after the Madrid match. But you're right, we've just not done well with them. If you cast your mind back to the season before that, we drew at their place. I think we had to come from behind and Kane scored, and I think we had a dour 0-0 earlier in the season. And I think it was Klopp's first game. So both those games were drawn. And then, you cast your mind back to the season before that. I'm assuming that was still Brenda Rodgers. Brenda. Slip of the tongue there. Yeah. If you remember, we lost the game 3-2 after taking the lead up at Anfield. Yep. It was a right ding-dong match. And then the home game, we lost 3-0. We got absolutely trounced after winning our first 2 games of the season. So they did the doubler on us that year. And do we really even want to go back to Dim Tim and AVB? Because that was not pretty at all. 5-0 at home was the end of AVP. And I think
that was the one where Paulinho went studs up into the chest of Suarez, right? And got a red card early?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the return fixture, we lost 4-0, and Dim Tim's sitting in the stands. Which probably was the nail in the coffin for him as far as Daniel Levy was concerned. So I don't want to go back further than that, but that just goes to show you how tough we've had it. And that's what, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, and no. So it is a tough team to play against. There was a time, particularly around Harry. I'm not saying it's all Harry, but we were beating them at White Hart Lane consistently. They couldn't come and get anything of us at the lane. So that, 2008 to probably 2012 period, we pretty much owned them at White Hart Lane. Yeah. Again, we're not there. So sorry, lads. It's going to be a tough game. It's definitely going to be a tough game.
What about you, Tim? When you think about the Liverpool match, especially as it's sandwiched, around Real Madrid and the other tough fixtures that we have coming up, is this one? Is it a good barometer match for us? Do you anticipate there being issues?
I think it is a good barometer match. I mean, it'll be one of our toughest matchups yet for the season. I know we've played Chelsea, but I mean, it's another good barometer match to go up against a side that we're going to be challenging against for a top 4 position. Now, you had mentioned, earlier when you brought up this match, how they've been a bit dodgy in defense. But this past weekend, they held a clean sheet to a Man United team that's been banging in the goals.
Against Man United nobody in the top 10, though. I think Man United is flattering to deceive, to be honest.
But still, I mean, they've been putting in the goals. And for a team like Liverpool, who's been so shit in defense, to hold a clean sheet against them. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't write off their defense that early now that they've shown that they can keep a clean sheet against a team like United. But with that being said, I think, what we've seen at Wembley, what's been an issue for us is the team's just sitting 10 behind the ball throughout the entire match. We're not going to have that against Liverpool. It's going to be